Hi, my name's Al and today I'm going to show you how to replace your rear gear cable. It's pretty easy, but also it's often the cause of shifting problems. So if you set your gears up, everything's aligned properly and you just can't get them to work, then try replacing your cable. It's pretty cheap and it'll fix a lot of issues. You don't need many tools to replace a cable, but one thing that you do need and is worthwhile investing a decent amount of money in is some cable cutters. First of all, you need to repeatedly press the trigger that you would operate with your forefinger on the right hand lever. That will remove any tension in the cable, and turn the pedals to drop the chain down to the smallest sprocket, so top gear at the back. If you've got a rapid rise rear mech, then this will leave your chain on the largest sprocket. It's basically the same, just works the other way around. To remove the cable, first step, snip through the inner wire here. Then at the shifter end, get your Phillips screwdriver and remove the plug like so. Put the plug somewhere safe and you're now ready to remove the cable. Just pull the inner wire through the shifter, pop it in the bin, ready to replace it. Grab your 5mm Allen key and slacken the pinch bolt on the rear mech to remove the tag end of the old cable. So with the inner cable out, now is the time to get the length of your outer cable spot on. Basically you want the outer cable to be as short as possible without any tight bends. For the outer cable here, around the bars, we can see, and we can probably snip a bit of that cable off. It's a wee bit long. Just make sure that you've got a full turn of the bars and mark it with your finger and cut the cable. With the cable cut, just reshape the end of the outer using your cable cutters to make sure it's nice and round and that the cable is going to flow freely through it. When you fit your ferrule, push it firmly into place so it's all the way home. As you've just seen, we've kept the outer cable up at the front of the bike. Doesn't get too dirty up there, so we can get away with reusing that. The outer cable on the rest of the bike, if we have a full suspension bike, then it's important that we cut it to the correct length so it doesn't interfere with the movement of the bike. Otherwise you might find that as you hit a bump you change gear, which obviously we don't want. But this piece of cable here, this is the most important piece that needs to be as clean as possible. It gets really dirty, it's exposed to a lot of dirt and it gets trapped in the cable, and that's what can give you poor shifting. So the inner cable and this bit of outer needs to be spot on. Its length is very important as well. The cable needs to have a nice clean run, again short as possible, and as it goes into the mech, ideally it will go straight into it with no nasty bends. There's two sizes of gear outer. Firstly, I'd recommend Shimano, make great gear cables, and they offer two sizes. There's a 6mm and a 4mm. The 6mm uses a metal ferrule, which is very free flowing, allows for very smooth gear changes, but it's not very well sealed, so they soon get gammed up and your shifting suffers as a result. What we've used here is a 4mm cable, so 4mm ferrules, and these have the added benefit of having a couple of little O-rings inside there which help to keep the dirt out, so that's what we'd recommend. Now we're ready to fit the inner cable. Before we fit it, just wind the barrel adjuster in on the shifter, wind it all the way in, and then back it out a couple of turns just to give us a bit of adjustment. Grab your inner wire, shifter should be still in the same gear, so 4-finger trigger pressed until it doesn't do anything. Pop your cable into the shifter make sure the cable's all the way in, and then we can refit our little blanking plug screw. So in that goes. We've fitted the first bit of outer into its stop, and now's the time if you want to add any cable donuts onto the cable, just to help keep down any noise. Thread the cable through the next piece of outer. So thread the cable through the last piece of outer. And through the cable clamp. Pull the cable nice and tight and nip up the pinch bolt. With the cable secured, trim it nice and short. Bit of crimp. And crimp it onto the end of the cable. With a shadow mech like this, you want to bend the tag end away from the wheel, otherwise it can ping on the spokes. Before we fine tune the tension of the cable to get the gear indexing spot on, we're just going to bed the cable in. So grab the inner wire, give it a good pull, and that'll seat the ferrules on the outer cables fully home. So any slack in the system will be apparent, and we can take that out just by using the pinch bolt on the rear mech. So just undo the screw, pull the cable through nice and tight, nip it back up. There's 3 adjustments to be made to the rear mech. 1 is the cable tension. 2 is your limit screws. So there's 2 screws here. These control how far the mech can move across the block, so across the cassette. So there's a high limit and a low limit. The 3rd adjustment is the B tension, which is this screw here, which adjusts the distance between the top jockey wheel or guide pulley and the cassette. Your B tension and limit screws should require no adjustment at all, as long as they were set up correctly in the first place. All we need to worry about is cable tension. Now, we pulled the cable tight by hand and clamped it, and that's generally going to put us in the ballpark as far as cable tension is concerned. You might need to make some minor adjustments. We can do those at the barrel adjuster on the shifter. To check to see how we've got along, press the shifter 1 click to go up 1 sprocket, and we should find that the chain moves up 1 gear. So the chain should now be sitting in this sprocket. To set the indexing, then we need to align the cage and primarily the top jockey wheel with this sprocket. If we tighten the cable tension, this will move the mech further in towards the wheel, towards the easier gears, and less tension will drop it down to the smallest sprocket, which is the hardest gear. So tweak your adjuster on the shifter to line that up, and once you've got it lined up, then you should find that your gears index properly, which basically means that 1 click on the shifter equates to 1 gear on the cassette. So that's it, all done. It's pretty simple, save you a few quid, and it'll also save you some time off the bike when perhaps your bike might be in the bike shop. So yeah, it's all good. Gears are running properly, time to hit the trails. Cheers, see you next time.